The sound of her body hitting the cold mall floor echoed through the corridor like a gunshot. Maya's hands instinctively wrapped around her pregnant belly as she fell, her shopping bag scattering across the polished tiles. The boutique dress she'd been holding flew from her grasp, landing in a crumpled heap several feet away. Around her, shoppers gasped and froze, their phones already raised, recording everything. "The baby," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. "Please, not the baby." Above her stood Derek Chen, her ex-boyfriend, his face twisted in an ugly sneer that she'd never seen during their 3 years together. Or maybe she had seen it, and she'd just been too blind to notice. His new girlfriend, Ashley, stood beside him with her mouth hanging open, her perfectly manicured hand covering her glossy lips. "She's faking," Derek said loudly, his voice carrying across the growing crowd. "She barely touched the ground. You all saw it, right? She's just trying to make me look bad." But Maya wasn't faking. Pain radiated from her hip where she'd landed, and a sharp cramping sensation shot through her lower abdomen. She tried to push herself up, but her hands were shaking too badly. Tears streamed down her face, hot and unbidden, mixing with the humiliation that burned in her chest. "Someone call an ambulance!" A woman's voice cut through the murmuring crowd. "No need," a deep, authoritative voice replied. "We're already here." Maya's vision was blurry with tears, but she recognized that voice. She'd know it anywhere. Relief flooded through her body even as the cramping intensified. 3 men in black suits materialized from the crowd, moving with military precision. The lead man, Mr. Kang, dropped to one knee beside Maya, his normally stoic face creased with concern. "Ma'am," he said softly, his rough hands surprisingly gentle as he helped her sit up. "Can you tell me where it hurts?" "My stomach," Maya gasped. "It hurts. Is the baby okay? Please tell me the baby is okay." Mr. Kang's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone with one hand while keeping the other on Maya's shoulder, steadying her. "This is Kang. Ma'am is down at Gangnam Luxury Mall, West Wing, 3rd floor. I need the boss here now, and get an ambulance." "Yes, now!" Derek took a step back, his bravado faltering as he took in the suited men and their obvious concern for Maya. "Wait, who are you people? You can't just—" "Sit down and shut up," Mr. Kang said without even looking at him. 2 of the other suited men moved to flank Derek and Ashley, their presence alone enough to make the couple freeze in place. "You can't hold us here," Ashley protested, her voice rising. "We didn't do anything. She fell on her own." 47 people have already sent us video footage of your boyfriend assaulting a pregnant woman," another suited man said calmly, holding up a tablet. "Would you like to see it, or would you prefer to wait for the police to arrive so you can explain it to them?" The blood drained from Ashley's face. Maya's head was spinning. The cramping was getting worse, coming in waves now that made her double over. Mr. Kang barked orders into his phone, medical terms she didn't understand, but his urgency made her heart race even faster. "Stay with me, ma'am," Mr. Kang said, his voice softer now. "The boss is 5 minutes out. The ambulance is 3 minutes away. You're going to be fine. The baby's going to be fine." But Maya had heard those words before, 6 months ago, when her whole world had fallen apart. Before we dive in fully, I'd like to know where you're watching from. Drop your country in the comments, hit that like button, and make sure you've subscribed, because this story is about to get wild. 6 months earlier, Maya had been standing in the cramped kitchen of her apartment, staring at the positive pregnancy test in her trembling hands. She'd taken 3 tests, just to be sure, and all 3 showed the same result. 2 pink lines that would change everything. She was terrified, she was excited, she was confused, but mostly she was hopeful. Because she loved Derek. And despite their struggles, despite the fact that she'd been the one paying most of the bills while he figured things out, she believed he loved her too. She'd planned the whole evening. His favorite dinner, chicken parmesan with extra cheese, was in the oven. She'd bought a small pair of baby shoes and placed them in a gift box, ready for the big reveal. The apartment was cleaned, candles were lit, and she'd even splurged on a bottle of sparkling cider. Derek came home late, as usual. His tie was loosened, his shirt rumpled, and there was an expression on his face that she couldn't quite read. He looked at the dinner table, at the candles, at her hopeful smile, and something cold flickered in his eyes. "We need to talk," he said, not even sitting down. Maya's smile faltered. "Okay, I need to talk. To you too. I have something to tell you." "I got the job," Derek interrupted. "At Hansong Enterprises. Junior executive position, 6-figure salary, company car, the works." "Derek, that's amazing." Maya moved toward him, arms outstretched for a hug. But he stepped back. "I'm breaking up with you," he said flatly. The world tilted. Maya's ears rang. She must have heard him wrong. "What?" "I said I'm breaking up with you." Derek's voice was cold, clinical, like he was reading from a script. "This job, it's my chance to finally be somebody, to move up in the world. And I can't do that with you." "What are you talking about?" Maya's voice cracked. "Derek, we've been together for 3 years. I supported you through everything. I paid your bills when you couldn't find work. I believed in you when nobody else did. I love you. And I appreciate that," Derek said, though his tone suggested he didn't appreciate it at all. "But let's be real, Maya. Look at yourself." She looked, down at her body automatically, at her soft curves, at the stomach that wasn't flat, at the thighs that touched. She'd always been plus-sized, and Derek had said he loved her exactly as she was. He'd said her body was perfect. He'd said beauty standards were stupid. "I need someone who fits my new lifestyle," Derek continued, his words like knives. "Someone who looks good at company dinners. Someone who can wear designer dresses and turn heads. Someone who makes me look successful." "And I don't," Maya whispered, hot tears spilling down her cheeks. "Come on, Maya. Be honest with yourself. When was the last time you fit into anything designer? When was the last time someone looked at you and thought, successful businessman's girlfriend?" He laughed, a cruel sound that she'd never heard from him before. "I need someone like Ashley. Someone who actually takes care of themselves." "Ashley? Ashley from your office? You're leaving me for her?" "I'm leaving you for my future," Derek corrected. "Ashley is just part of that future. She gets it. She gets what it takes to look the part." Maya's hand unconsciously moved to her stomach, where her secret was growing. "Derek, wait. There's something you need to know. I'm pregnant," Derek said, and Maya's blood ran cold. "Yeah, I found the tests in the bathroom trash. Did you really think that would change my mind? If anything, it made my decision easier." "What are you saying?" Maya could barely breathe. "I'm saying that I can't be tied down to this." He gestured at her body, at her belly, at everything she was. "I'm 29 years old, Maya. I'm about to make real money for the first time in my life. You really think I want to be stuck changing diapers with a woman who let herself go? You think I want to introduce you to my new boss, my new colleagues?" Each word was a blow, worse than any physical hit could have been. "You said you loved me," Maya sobbed. "I loved who I thought you could be," Derek said, grabbing his jacket from the back of the chair. "But you're not going to change. You're never going to be what I need. And this baby? That's your problem, not mine. Should have been more careful." He walked to the bedroom and emerged 5 minutes later with a duffel bag filled with his things. The expensive watch she'd bought him for his birthday was on his wrist. The designer wallet she'd saved 3 months to afford was in his pocket. The laptop she'd purchased so he could job hunt was under his arm. "You're just going to leave?" Maya asked, her voice hollow. "Just like that?" "Just like that," Derek confirmed. He paused at the door, his hand on the knob, and for a moment, Maya thought he might apologize, might take it all back. Instead, he said, "Lose some weight, Maya. Maybe then you'll find someone desperate enough to settle." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Maya stood in her candlelit apartment, the chicken parmesan burning in the oven, the baby shoes still in their unopened box. and cried until she had nothing left. 2 weeks later, Maya was still crying. She cried while eating breakfast alone. She cried during her shifts at the bakery where she worked. She cried herself to sleep every night in the bed that suddenly felt too big and too empty. On a particularly bad evening, she found herself at a small Korean restaurant 3 blocks from her apartment. She'd walked past it 100 times, but never gone in. Tonight, she didn't want to go home to her empty apartment, didn't want to eat another meal alone, didn't want to think about the future stretching ahead of her, single and pregnant and broke. The restaurant was tiny. Only 6 tables, with handwritten menus and the smell of simmering bone broth filling the air. An older Korean woman, probably in her 60s, looked up from behind the counter and immediately noticed Maya's red-rimmed eyes. "Sit, sit," the woman said, gesturing to a table by the window. "You look hungry. I bring you soup." "I haven't ordered yet," Maya protested weakly. "You need soup," the woman said firmly. "Bone broth, good for baby." Maya froze. "How did you know?" The woman tapped her nose knowingly. "I have 6 children. I know pregnant woman when I see one. Where is father?" Fresh tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. "Gone." The woman's expression softened. She disappeared into the kitchen and returned not with 1 bowl of soup, but with 3, plus a plate of banchan, rice, and grilled fish. "Eat," she commanded. "Baby needs strength. You need strength." Maya tried to protest the amount of food, tried to explain she couldn't afford all of this, but the woman waved her off. "You pay for 1 soup. Rest is free. I am Mrs. Park. This is my restaurant." As Maya ate, Mrs. Park sat across from her, asking gentle questions. How far along was she? Did she have family? Was she eating enough? Maya found herself opening up to this stranger in a way she hadn't with anyone else. Not her co-workers, not her distant family, not her few friends who had slowly stopped calling after the breakup. The bell above the door chimed, and Mrs. Park's face lit up. "Ji-hoon, perfect timing." Maya looked up, and her breath caught in her throat. The man who entered was tall, probably in his early 30s, with sharp features and dark eyes that swept the restaurant with practiced efficiency before landing on his aunt. He was dressed in an expensive suit, the kind Derek used to dream about owning, but he wore it with a casual ease that suggested he had many more at home. His presence seemed to fill the small space, commanding attention without demanding it. "Auntie," he said warmly, his voice deep and smooth. "I brought the—" He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes landing on Maya. More specifically, on her tear-stained face. "What happened?" His tone changed instantly, hardening. "Who made you cry?" No, Mrs. Park said quickly. "This is Maya. She is customer. She has troubles, but she is strong. Maya, this is my nephew, Ji-hoon." Ji-hoon's expression softened slightly, though his eyes remained concerned. He gave Maya a small bow. "I apologize for my rudeness. It's nice to meet you." "You too," Maya managed, suddenly very aware of how she must look, crying over soup in a restaurant at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Mrs. Park stood up, a gleam in her eye that should have been a warning. "Ji-hoon, you sit. Keep Maya company. I need to check on something in kitchen. Auntie, I have a meeting." "Meeting can wait. Sit." And somehow, this man who had entered the restaurant like he owned the world sat down across from Maya without another word of protest. They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Maya wiped her eyes with a napkin, embarrassed. Ji-hoon studied her with an intensity that should have made her uncomfortable, but somehow didn't. "My aunt's soup is the best in Seoul," he finally said. "When I was young and had problems, she always made me eat. She said, 'Soup fixes everything.'" "Does it?" Maya asked, her voice rough from crying. "No," Ji-hoon admitted with a small smile. "But it helps." Maya found herself smiling back, just a little. "Your aunt is very kind." "She is. Sometimes too kind. She feeds half the neighborhood for free." He paused. "She's also an incurable matchmaker. so I apologize in advance for whatever she's planning." Planning? As if on cue, Mrs. Park emerged from the kitchen with another bowl of soup. This one clearly meant for Ji-hoon. "You eat too. Both of you too skinny." Ji-hoon raised an eyebrow at Maya, a look that clearly said, "See what I mean?" Despite everything, Maya laughed. It was small and shaky, but it was real, and it was the first time she'd laughed in 2 weeks. Mrs. Park beamed like she'd just won the lottery. If you're loving Maya's story so far, drop a comment below telling us what you think Derek deserves. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because, trust me, this is just the beginning. Ji-hoon stayed for an hour. They talked about small things at first: the weather, the neighborhood, Mrs. Park's tendency to overfeed everyone, but gradually, carefully, like someone approaching a wounded animal. Ji-hoon asked about her. "You don't have to tell me," he said. "But if you want to talk, I'm a good listener." And Maya, for reasons she couldn't explain, found herself telling him everything. Not the details, not at first, but the broad strokes. The breakup, the pregnancy, the fear of facing everything alone. Ji-hoon listened without interrupting, without offering empty platitudes or useless advice. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "The father is a fool," he finally said. Maya shook her head. "He just wanted something better." "Better?" Ji-hoon's eyes flashed with something dangerous. "Better than someone who stood by him, who supported him, who loved him." He leaned forward slightly. "Maya, I don't know. You will. But I know this. Anyone who makes you feel like you're not enough is not someone who deserves you." It was such a simple statement, but it cracked something open in Maya's chest. More tears came, but these felt different. Cleaner somehow. Ji-hoon handed her his handkerchief, expensive fabric with his initials embroidered in the corner. "Keep it," he said when she tried to give it back. When Maya finally left the restaurant that night, her belly full and her heart a little lighter. She didn't know that Ji-hoon watched her from the window until she turned the corner. She didn't know that he asked his aunt for her phone number and was told firmly that if he wanted it, he'd have to come back and earn it. She didn't know that she'd just met the man who would change her life forever. Ji-hoon came back the next day. Maya was sitting at the same table by the window, picking at a bowl of kimchi jjigae, when the bell chimed and he walked in. She looked up in surprise, her chopsticks frozen halfway to her mouth. "You're back," she said, stating the obvious. "I told my aunt I'd come by more often," Ji-hoon replied, but his eyes were on Maya, not Mrs. Park. "Mind if I join you?" Maya nodded, suddenly self-conscious about the fact that she was wearing the same sweater as yesterday, that her hair was in a messy bun, that she probably had dark circles under her eyes from another sleepless night. But if Ji-hoon noticed any of that, he didn't show it. He sat down across from her with the same easy grace as before, ordered the same soup, and started talking like they were old friends picking up where they'd left off. He came back the next day too, and the day after that. By the end of the first week, it had become routine. Maya would finish her shift at the bakery at 6, walk to Mrs. Park's restaurant, and find Ji-hoon already there, waiting. Sometimes he wore suits that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. Other times he wore casual clothes, jeans and sweaters that made him look younger, more approachable. But he always had the same small smile when she walked in, always stood up to pull out her chair, always made sure she ate enough. "You don't have to keep doing this," Maya said one evening, about 2 weeks into their strange routine. "I'm sure you have better things to do than have dinner with a pregnant woman you barely know." Ji-hoon set down his spoon and looked at her seriously. "Do you want me to stop coming?" "No," Maya admitted, surprising herself with how quickly the word came out. "But I don't understand why you are." "Does there need to be a reason?" Ji-hoon asked. "Maybe I just like the company. Maybe my aunt's soup tastes better when I'm not eating alone. Maybe I think you deserve to have someone show up for you." His words settled over her like a warm blanket. Maya felt tears prick her eyes again. which seemed to be her default state these days. But she blinked them back. "Tell me about your work," she said, changing the subject. "Your aunt mentioned you're in business." Something flickered across Ji-hoon's face, too quick for Maya to read. "Family business. Import and export mostly. Some investments. It's boring stuff." "Boring stuff that requires expensive suits and late-night meetings?" Ji-hoon smiled. "Something like that. What about you? How long have you been baking?" And just like that, he'd redirected the conversation back to her. Maya was starting to notice that pattern. Ji-hoon would answer her questions, but never in much detail, always turning the focus back to her life, her dreams, her plans for the baby. "Since I was a kid," Maya said. "My grandmother taught me. She used to say that baking was love you could taste. Every cake, every cookie, every loaf of bread was a way of telling someone you cared about them. Is that why you do it? To show love?" Maya thought about that. Maybe. Or maybe I just like making people happy. There's something magical about watching someone's face light up when they taste something delicious. It's like, for just a moment, everything else disappears, and there's only that taste, that joy. Ji-hoon was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite name. "You light up when you talk about it," he said softly. "Baking. You should always look like that." Maya felt her cheeks heat. "I'm sure I look ridiculous, getting excited about bread. You look beautiful." The word hung in the air between them. Maya's heart stuttered. No one had called her beautiful in so long. Derek had, once, in the beginning. But toward the end, he'd stopped. Toward the end, there had only been criticisms and comparisons and disappointed sighs. "Ji-hoon," Maya started, but she didn't know how to finish. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I just meant that you should know. You should know that you're beautiful, that anyone who made you feel otherwise was blind." Maya looked down at her, hands, at her round belly pressing against the table's edge. "I'm pregnant with another man's baby. I'm broke. I'm working a minimum wage job with no benefits. I live in a tiny apartment with a broken heater. What exactly is beautiful about that?" "Everything," Ji-hoon said simply. "You're growing a life inside you. You go to work every day even though you're exhausted and scared. You smile at strangers. You tip my aunt even though she keeps trying to feed you for free. You're surviving something that would break most people, and you're doing it with grace." He leaned forward. "That's beautiful, Maya. That's strength." Maya felt something crack open in her chest, something that had been frozen since the night Derek walked out. A tear slipped down her cheek, then another. "I'm sorry," she said, wiping at her face. "I cry at everything these days, pregnancy hormones. Or maybe you're finally letting yourself feel things," Ji-hoon suggested gently. He reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers, a question. Maya placed her hand in his, and his fingers closed around hers, warm and solid and real. They sat like that for a long moment, hands joined across the table, Mrs. Park pretending not to watch from the kitchen with undisguised glee on her face. The weeks that followed fell into a pattern that felt almost like healing. Ji-hoon showed up every evening without fail. Sometimes he brought things, small gifts that he presented casually like they were nothing. A heating pad for her aching back, a pregnancy pillow because he'd noticed her mentioning neck pain. Books about babies with notes in the margins where he'd highlighted important parts. "You're reading parenting books?" Maya asked one evening, flipping through a copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting that was bristling with bookmarks. Ji-hoon shrugged, looking almost embarrassed. "I wanted to understand what you're going through. The book says the second trimester is supposed to be easier, but you still look tired." "I am tired," Maya admitted. "But also, this is really sweet. You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." Those 3 words became a theme. When Maya mentioned craving pickles and ice cream at midnight, Ji-hoon showed up at her apartment at 12:15, with both. "I wanted to," he said. When her apartment's heater finally died completely and she was bundled in every sweater she owned, Ji-hoon appeared with a repairman. "I wanted to," he said. When she started crying over a commercial about dogs, Ji-hoon just held her and let her sob into his expensive shirt. "I wanted to," he said. One evening, about a month into their routine, Maya felt the baby kick for the first time. She gasped, her hand flying to her stomach. "What's wrong?" Ji-hoon was on his feet immediately, concern etched across his face. "Nothing's wrong," Maya said, wonder filling her voice. "The baby, it just moved, like actually moved. Here, feel." She grabbed his hand without thinking and pressed it against the side of her belly. They both froze, suddenly aware of the intimacy of the gesture, of his large hand splayed across her stomach, of how close they were standing. Then the baby kicked again, a flutter against Ji-hoon's palm, and his entire face transformed. The careful control he usually maintained cracked, revealing something raw and amazed underneath. "That's your baby," he whispered. "That's my baby," Maya confirmed, and suddenly she was crying again. But these were happy tears, relieved tears, grateful tears for this moment, for this man who had appeared in her life like an answer to a prayer she hadn't known how to pray. Ji-hoon pulled her into his arms, careful of her belly, and held her while she cried. "You're going to be an amazing mother," he murmured into her hair. "This baby is so lucky to have you." "Ji-hoon," Maya said, pulling back to look at him. "Why are you really doing all this? And don't say because you want to. I need to understand. Men don't just show up every day for a pregnant woman they barely know. They don't buy heating pads and read parenting books and hold you while you cry over dog commercials. So why?" Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment, his hand still resting on her belly where the baby had kicked. "The first time I saw you," he finally said, "you were crying over soup in my aunt's restaurant, and I thought, here is someone who's been hurt badly but is still fighting, still showing up, still trying." He cupped her face with his free hand, his thumb brushing away her tears. "I've met a lot of people in my life, Maya. Most of them want something from me. Money, connections, favors. But you just wanted soup and maybe someone to listen. And I thought, I want to be that person. I want to be someone who shows up for you." "But why?" Maya pressed. "Because when I saw you crying, something in my chest hurt," Ji-hoon said simply. "And when I see you smile, that same something feels warm. And when your ex-boyfriend made you feel worthless, I wanted to find him and make him understand exactly how wrong he was." His voice dropped lower. "I'm falling in love with you, Maya. Maybe I already have. And I know the timing is terrible. I know you're pregnant and scared and probably not ready for this. But you asked for the truth, and that's it. I'm here because I can't imagine being anywhere else." Maya couldn't breathe. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. Even Derek, in their 3 years together, had never been that raw, that honest, that vulnerable. "You don't know me," she whispered. "Then let me," Ji-hoon said. "Let me know you. Let me be here for you and this baby. Let me show you what it looks like when someone chooses you, not because they have to, but because they want to, because they can't imagine doing anything else." "I come with baggage," Maya said. "A lot of baggage. Another man's baby, trust issues, stretch marks and mood swings and midnight cravings. I don't care about any of that. You say that now, but—" "Maya!" Ji-hoon's voice was firm. "I've had 2 months to walk away. 2 months to decide this was too complicated or too messy or too much. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." Maya searched his face, looking for any sign of doubt or hesitation. She found none, just steady certainty in something that looked a lot like love. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know. I don't know if I can do this. Trust someone again. Let someone in." "I know that too." Ji-hoon pulled her closer until her belly was pressed against him, until she could feel his heartbeat. "So we'll go slow. As slow as you need. I'm not going anywhere, Maya. You set the pace." And maybe it was the pregnancy hormones. Or maybe it was the fact that he'd shown up every single day for 2 months without asking for anything in return. Or maybe it was simply that her heart had been waiting for someone to choose her, really choose her, for so long. But Maya found herself nodding. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, we can try." Ji-hoon's smile was like sunrise, slow and warm and full of promise. He pressed his forehead to hers, careful and gentle. "Thank you," he said, "for giving me a chance. I promise I won't waste it." They stood like that in Mrs. Park's restaurant, wrapped around each other, while the baby kicked between them, and Mrs. Park watched from the kitchen, already planning their wedding in her head. 3 weeks later, Ji-hoon asked Maya to marry him. They were at the restaurant. Because of course they were. Mrs. Park had outdone herself, bringing out dish after dish until the table groaned under the weight of the food. Maya was laughing at something Ji-hoon had said when he suddenly stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Maya," he said, and something in his voice made her stop laughing, made her heart start to race. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing's wrong. Everything is right. For the first time in my life, everything feels right." He moved around the table and dropped to one knee beside her chair. Maya's hands flew to her mouth. "Ji-hoon, what are you doing?" "Something I should have done weeks ago." He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a ring, simple and elegant, with a diamond that caught the light and sent rainbows dancing across the walls. "Maya, I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other for 3 months. I know you're pregnant with another man's baby and you're still healing from what he did to you. But I also know that I love you. I love your strength and your kindness and the way you light up when you talk about baking. I love how you're growing a life inside you, even though you're terrified. I love everything about you." Tears were streaming down Maya's face again. Mrs. Park had abandoned all pretense of working and was watching from the kitchen door, her own eyes wet. "Marry me," Ji-hoon continued. "Let me be this baby's father. Let me protect you both. Let me spend every day showing you what it means to be loved the way you deserve. You'll never be alone again. You'll never have to worry about money or housing or whether someone will show up. I will always show up, Maya. Always. So marry me. Please." Maya couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight, her heart too full. She looked at this man, this wonderful, patient, impossibly kind man who had appeared in her life when she needed him most, and she knew her answer. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, yes, I'll marry you." Ji-hoon's face broke into a grin so wide it looked almost painful. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly, like it had been made for her. Then he stood up and pulled her to her feet, kissing her for the first time, soft and sweet and full of promises. Mrs. Park burst into applause from the kitchen, shouting in Korean, and suddenly the restaurant was full of people, staff members Maya had never seen before, all celebrating, all cheering. "Who are all these people?" Maya asked, laughing and crying at the same time. "My family," Ji-hoon said. "Some of them, anyway. I wanted them to meet you, to witness this." An older woman, probably in her 70s, approached them with tears in her eyes. She said something in rapid Korean to Ji-hoon, then turned to Maya and took her hands. "She says you have a kind face," Ji-hoon translated. "She says she can tell you'll be a good wife and mother. She's my grandmother, the family matriarch." The grandmother said something else, longer this time, and Ji-hoon laughed. "She says finally, a real woman, with hips for birthing strong babies. She's been worried I'd marry someone too skinny." Maya felt her cheeks burn. But the grandmother was looking at her with such genuine warmth and approval that she couldn't help but laugh too. The wedding happened 2 weeks later. Not because they were in a rush, Ji-hoon insisted, but because he didn't want to wait any longer than necessary to make Maya his wife. They kept it simple, just family and a few close friends, in a small ceremony at a traditional Korean wedding hall. Maya wore a hanbok that Ji-hoon's grandmother had altered to accommodate her growing belly, the silk soft against her skin. Ji-hoon wore a traditional hanbok too, and when he first saw her walking toward him, his eyes filled with tears. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," he whispered when she reached him. The ceremony was a blur of Korean traditions Maya didn't fully understand but tried her best to follow. Ji-hoon's grandmother guided her through each step, patient and encouraging. When they bowed to the elders, when they shared the ceremonial wine, when they were finally pronounced husband and wife, Maya felt something settle in her chest. Safety, security, home. At the small reception afterward, Mrs. Park was crying openly, telling anyone who would listen that she'd known from the first day that they were meant to be together. Ji-hoon's grandmother kept bringing Maya food, insisting she eat for the baby. And Ji-hoon never left her side, his hand always finding hers, his eyes always checking to make sure she was okay. "Happy?" he asked as they swayed together during their first dance, his hand on her lower back, careful of her belly. "Terrified," Maya admitted. "But yes, happy. Good, because you're stuck with me now. And you're stuck with us," Maya said, placing her hand over her stomach. "Me and the baby." "Best trade I ever made," Ji-hoon said, and kissed her again, soft and sweet, while their family cheered. That night, Ji-hoon took Maya to his home for the first time. She'd insisted on seeing it before the wedding, but he'd been strangely reluctant, making excuses about renovations and wanting to surprise her. Now, as they pulled up to the massive gate, Maya understood why. "Ji-hoon," she said slowly, staring at the estate beyond the gate. "What exactly does your family business do?" "We should talk about that," Ji-hoon said, suddenly nervous in a way she'd never seen him before. "There are some things I need to tell you, about my family, about what I do." But before he could say anything else, the gate swung open and they drove through, past gardens and fountains, up to a house that looked more like a palace than a home. Men in black suits stood at attention along the driveway, and when Ji-hoon's car stopped, they all bowed. Maya stepped out of the car, her mouth hanging open. "Ji-hoon, what is this?" "Home," he said simply. "Your home now, our home. Come on, I'll show you inside." The house was enormous, all marble floors and soaring ceilings and artwork that probably cost more than Maya would make in her entire lifetime. Staff members appeared from nowhere, greeting Ji-hoon respectfully and welcoming Maya with warm smiles. "Mr. Kang," Ji-hoon called, and a stern-looking man in his 50s appeared. "Sir, this is my wife, Maya. From now on, her security is our top priority. She goes nowhere without protection. Understood?" "Understood, sir." Maya's head was spinning. "Security! Ji-hoon, what is going on?" Ji-hoon took her hand and led her to a sitting room, dismissing everyone else with a wave. He sat her down on a couch that was probably worth more than her car and took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something," he said. "And I need you to listen to the whole thing before you react, okay?" Maya nodded, her heart starting to race. "My family, we're not just an import and export. We're connected to a lot of different businesses, some legal, some in gray areas. We have influence in Seoul, in all of Korea, really. People respect us, and sometimes they fear us. My grandfather built an empire, and my father expanded it, and now it's mine to run." "What are you saying?" Maya asked, though part of her already knew. "I'm saying that I'm not just a businessman, Maya. I'm the head of one of Seoul's most powerful families. Some people call us the Korean Mafia, though that's not entirely accurate. We're more like organized entrepreneurs with strong family loyalty and a willingness to do what needs to be done." Maya stared at him. "You're a mob boss." "I prefer family business leader," Ji-hoon said with a weak smile. "But yes, essentially. And you're telling me this now, after we're married?" "I was going to tell you before," Ji-hoon said quickly. "I was waiting for the right time. I didn't want to scare you away. I didn't want you to think I was dangerous or that I'd put you in danger. Are you dangerous? Maya asked. Ji-hoon was quiet for a moment. To people who threaten my family? Yes. To you? Never. Maya, everything I do is to protect the people I love. Everything I have is to provide for them. You and this baby. You're my family now, which means you have the protection of everyone who works for me. No one will ever hurt you. No one will ever make you feel small or worthless or afraid. I promise you that. Maya's mind was reeling. A mob boss. She'd married a mob boss. She was living in a mansion with guards and security and probably illegal activities happening somewhere in the background. But then she looked at Ji-hoon's face, at the fear in his eyes that she might leave, might reject him. And she remembered something. This was the same man who had shown up at a restaurant every night for 2 months just to make sure she ate. The same man who had read parenting books and bought heating pads and held her while she cried. The same man who had chosen her and her baby when he could have chosen anyone. Okay, she said. Ji-hoon blinked. Okay? Okay, I mean, this is a lot to process, and we're definitely going to have more conversations about this, but okay. I trust you, Ji-hoon. You've never given me a reason not to. The relief that washed over his face was almost painful to watch. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving me a chance, for trusting me. I won't let you down, Maya, I swear it. And for the first time since Derek had walked out of her life, Maya felt truly safe, protected, chosen. Home. What do you think of Ji-hoon? Is he the perfect husband, or is there something we're missing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're rooting for Maya's happiness, smash that like button. The next 3 months were like living in a dream Maya hadn't known she was allowed to have. Ji-hoon had been right about the security. Mr. Kang and his team followed Maya everywhere, but they were discreet about it, staying far enough back that she could pretend to have privacy while close enough to respond to any threat. At first, it felt suffocating, but after Ji-hoon explained that there were people who might try to hurt her to get to him, she understood. This was the price of being married to someone powerful, but the benefits far outweighed the costs. Maya, no longer worried about rent or bills or whether she could afford prenatal vitamins. Ji-hoon had set up accounts in her name with more money than she'd ever seen, though she rarely touched them. He bought her everything she needed before she could even ask for it. Maternity clothes from designers she'd only seen in magazines, a nursery that looked like something from a fairy tale, with a crib that probably cost more than her old apartment. Books and toys and enough baby clothes to dress a small army. You're spoiling us, Maya said one afternoon, watching as Ji-hoon directed workers who were installing a second nursery in another wing of the house. A backup nursery, he explained, in case you're too tired to walk all the way to the main one at night. Ji-hoon, the main nursery is literally next door to our bedroom. Still, better to be prepared. He pulled her close, his hands resting on her belly, which had grown considerably. She was 7 months pregnant now, and the baby was active, constantly kicking and rolling. Besides, I like taking care of you. Let me. And she did, because it felt good to be taken care of, to be cherished, to wake up every morning to Ji-hoon's face and fall asleep every night in his arms. He was attentive without being overbearing, protective without being controlling. He rubbed her swollen feet every night, ran baths for her aching back, and kept the kitchen stocked with every craving she mentioned. His grandmother visited weekly, bringing traditional Korean soups and advice about pregnancy. She'd started teaching Maya Korean, patient with her terrible pronunciation, and delighted when Maya managed to learn a new phrase. The old woman treated Maya's belly like it held her own great-grandchild, talking to it in Korean, telling stories about Ji-hoon's childhood. She likes you, Ji-hoon translated one afternoon while his grandmother rubbed Maya's belly with some kind of traditional oil, still chattering away. She says the baby will be strong and healthy because you have good bones and a good heart. What does she say about you? Maya asked, wincing as the baby kicked particularly hard. Ji-hoon laughed. She says I finally stopped being stupid and married a real woman. She's been worried I'd end up with someone who only wanted my money. To be fair, your money is pretty nice, Maya teased. But that's not why you married me. No, Maya agreed, looking up at him. I married you because you showed up. Every single day, you showed up. The look Ji-hoon gave her made her heart flutter even now, 3 months into their marriage. I'll keep showing up, he promised, for the rest of our lives. But life had a way of testing promises. Maya had insisted on keeping her job at the bakery, at least part-time. Ji-hoon had been reluctant, worried about her being on her feet all day, but she'd convinced him that she needed something of her own, something normal. So he'd compromised, buying the bakery outright, and hiring additional staff so Maya could work shorter hours doing what she loved without the physical strain. You bought my workplace, Maya had said, exasperated but also touched. I invested in your passion, Ji-hoon corrected. There's a difference. It was at the bakery that Maya first heard Derek's name again, 3 months after her wedding. One of her co-workers was gossiping about someone who'd just been hired at some big company, going on about how he'd landed this amazing job and was dating some Instagram model. Derek something, the co-worker said. Chen, I think? Anyway, he came in here last week, threw a fit because we didn't have the exact type of bread he wanted. Total jerk. Maya's blood ran cold. Derek was back in Seoul. Derek had been in her bakery. Derek, who didn't know she was married, didn't know she was thriving, didn't know that the poor, fat, pathetic woman he'd abandoned was now living a life he couldn't even imagine. She didn't tell Ji-hoon. She told herself it was because she didn't want to worry him. But deep down, she knew it was because part of her was afraid. Afraid of seeing Derek again, afraid of those old wounds reopening, afraid that he'd look at her, still plus-sized and now heavily pregnant, and make her feel small again. But the universe had other plans. It was a Saturday afternoon, and Maya had decided to do some shopping for the baby. She was 8 months pregnant now, moving slowly, her back constantly aching. Mr. Kang had wanted to come with her, but she'd convinced him to let her have a few hours of normalcy with just one guard following at a distance. The mall was crowded, full of weekend shoppers and families. Maya was in a maternity store, looking at tiny onesies and trying to imagine her baby wearing them, when she heard a voice that made her entire body tense. Babe, let's go to Gucci. I need new sunglasses. Maya turned slowly, and there he was. Derek. He looked different, more polished, his hair styled, differently, wearing clothes that screamed money. And next to him was a tall, thin woman with perfect makeup and long hair, scrolling through her phone with French-tipped nails. Ashley, Maya assumed. The upgrade. Derek hadn't seen her yet. Maya considered leaving, slipping out before he noticed her, but her body had frozen, rooted to the spot. And then, as if sensing her stare, Derek looked up. His eyes widened. Maya! Ashley's head snapped up, her eyes zeroing in on Maya's pregnant belly with undisguised judgment. Derek, Maya said, proud that her voice didn't shake. Hi. Wow, you're really pregnant, Derek said, and there was something in his tone, something condescending and mean, that made Maya's spine stiffen. Still haven't had the baby, huh? When are you due? Next month, Maya said shortly. And the father? He finally stick around, or did he bail too? Derek's smile was cruel, and Ashley giggled behind her hand. My husband is at work, Maya said, lifting her chin. He's very attentive, actually. Derek's eyebrows shot up. Husband? You got married? Who would? He stopped himself, but the damage was done. The implication hung in the air between them. Who would marry someone like you? Someone who actually loves me, Maya said, her hand instinctively moving to her belly. Someone who chose me and this baby. Someone who shows up. Right, Derek said, his voice dripping with skepticism. Well, good for you, Maya. Glad you found someone desperate enough. The words hit like a physical blow. just like they had all those months ago. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, felt that old shame trying to claw its way back up her throat. "At least I'm not stuck with you anymore," Derek continued, warming to his theme. "Jesus, look at you. You've gotten even bigger. How much weight have you gained? What, like 60, 70 pounds? "Derek," Ashley said, tugging on his arm. But she was smiling, clearly enjoying the show. "What? I'm just being honest." She needs to hear it. Maybe if someone had been honest with her before, she wouldn't look like this. Derek gestured at Maya's body with undisguised disgust. "You know, I dodged a real bullet. Can you imagine me having to be seen with you at company events? Meeting my boss?" Something inside Maya cracked. All the confidence Ji-hoon had built in her, all the healing she'd done over the past 6 months, all of it felt like it was crumbling under Derek's words. "I upgraded in every way," Derek continued, pulling Ashley close. "Better body, better face, better breeding. No offense, Maya, but you were always going to be a placeholder. I was just waiting for something better to come along." "That's enough," Maya said quietly, but her voice was shaking now. "Is it? Because I think you need to hear this. You need to understand that this," he gestured at her belly again, "this is why you're alone. This is why no man in his right mind would want you. You're fat, you're pregnant, with another man's baby, and you're delusional if you think anyone actually loves you. Whoever this husband is, he's probably using you for something. Money, a green card, who knows? But love? Please." Maya's vision was blurring with tears. She tried to step around Derek, to get away, but he shifted, blocking her path. "What? You're not going to say anything? Not going to defend yourself? God, you were always so pathetic. Just taking whatever people said to you, never standing up for yourself. It's embarrassing, honestly." "Move," Maya said, her voice barely a whisper. "Make me," Derek sneered. "Oh, wait. You can't. You can barely move as it is. How much do you weigh now, Maya? 200? 250? I bet you can't even see your feet anymore. I said move!" Maya's voice rose, cracking with emotion, and she tried to push past him. Derek grabbed her shopping bag, yanking it away from her. "Did you steal these? There's no way you can afford this stuff. What, is your husband really just your sugar daddy? Is that it? You're selling yourself now? Give that back," Maya demanded, reaching for the bag. Derek held it higher, playing keep away like a child on a playground. Maya stretched for it, her pregnant belly making her off balance. And that's when it happened. Derek shoved her. It wasn't a hard shove, not really. Just a push to get her away from him, to make her stop reaching for the bag. But Maya was 8 months pregnant. Her center of gravity was off, and she was wearing shoes that didn't have good traction on the mall's polished floor. She stumbled backward, arms windmilling, trying to catch her balance. Time seemed to slow down. She saw Derek's eyes widen, saw Ashley's hand fly to her mouth, saw the crowd of shoppers turn to look. And then she was falling, her hands instinctively wrapping around her belly to protect the baby as she hit the ground hard. The pain was immediate and sharp, radiating from her hip and lower back. But worse was the cramping in her abdomen, sudden and intense, making her gasp. "The baby," she whispered, her hands clutching her stomach. "Please, not the baby." Around her, people were shouting, some pulling out phones to call for help, others recording. Derek stood frozen, his face pale, the shopping bag still in his hand. "She's faking," he said, his voice uncertain now. "She barely fell. She's just trying to make me look bad." But the crowd wasn't buying it. Someone yelled that they'd seen the whole thing, that Derek had pushed her. Someone else was already on the phone with the police. A woman knelt beside Maya, asking if she was okay, if someone should call an ambulance. And then, cutting through the chaos, came a voice Maya recognized. "Ma'am!" Mr. Kang appeared from nowhere, his normally composed face twisted with alarm. He dropped to his knees beside Maya, his hands hovering over her like he wanted to help but didn't know how. "Ma'am, where does it hurt? Talk to me. Stay with me." My stomach, Maya gasped, tears streaming down her face. It hurts. The baby, Mr. Kang, is the baby okay? Mr. Kang's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone with one hand while keeping the other on Maya's shoulder. This is Kang. Ma'am is down at Gangnam Luxury Mall, West Wing, 3rd floor. I need the boss here now, and get an ambulance. Yes, now. 2 more guards in black suits materialized from the crowd, forming a protective circle around Maya. One of them was on his phone, barking orders. The other was telling the crowd to step back, to give her space. Derek tried to back away, tried to disappear into the crowd, but one of the guards grabbed his arm. You're not going anywhere, the guard said, his voice cold. Let go of me. You can't hold me here. I'll call the cops. Please do, Mr. Kang said without looking at him. His attention was entirely on Maya, who was curling into herself, the cramping getting worse. Ma'am, the ambulance is 3 minutes away. The boss is 5 minutes out. You're going to be fine. The baby is going to be fine. Just breathe for me, okay? Deep breaths. Who are these people? Ashley asked, her voice rising with fear. Derek, what's going on? I don't know, Derek said, trying and failing to pull his arm free. Let me go. This is assault. You just pushed a pregnant woman to the ground, one of the guards said flatly. We have 47 people who recorded it on their phones. We have security footage from 6 different angles. You assaulted the wife of our boss. So no, you're not going anywhere. Derek's face went from pale to white. Wife? What are you talking about? She's not... Maya, what is he talking about? But Maya couldn't answer. The cramping was intensifying, coming in waves now that made her double over and cry out. Mr. Kang's face was grim as he spoke rapidly into his phone. Medical terms Maya didn't understand. The ambulance arrived in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Paramedics rushed over with a stretcher, asking Maya questions she could barely focus on. How far along was she? When did the pain start? Had there been any bleeding? 8 months, Maya managed to say. The pain started right after I fell. I don't know about bleeding, I can't tell. Please, is my baby okay? The paramedics were professional and efficient, checking her vitals and getting her onto the stretcher. Mr. Kang climbed into the ambulance with her, still on his phone, still coordinating. Soul Grace Medical Center, he told the driver. And don't spare the sirens. The chairman will have all our heads if anything happens to her or that baby. Chairman, one paramedic asked, confused. Just drive, Mr. Kang snapped. Derek and Ashley were being held by the other guards, both looking increasingly panicked as they realized they couldn't leave. More guards had arrived, forming a perimeter, and mall security was getting involved, asking questions and taking statements. I want to call my lawyer, Derek demanded. You can't just keep me here. Sir, you pushed a pregnant woman, a mall security officer said, showing Derek a video on his phone. Multiple witnesses, multiple recordings. The police are already on their way. Derek watched the video, watched himself shove Maya, watched her fall, and the reality of what he'd done seemed to finally sink in. I didn't mean she was in my way. I didn't think she'd actually fall. You shoved her, the security officer repeated. That's assault on a pregnant woman. Ashley had gone silent, her face pale, her eyes darting around like she was looking for an escape route. When one of the guards moved to block her path, she finally spoke up. I didn't do anything. This was all Derek. I'm just his girlfriend. I don't even know that woman. You were laughing, someone from the crowd called out. You were laughing while he insulted her. Ashley's face flushed red. I wasn't. That's not. At Soul Grace Medical Center, the ambulance pulled up to the emergency entrance, and Maya was rushed inside. Doctors and nurses appeared from everywhere, all moving with coordinated urgency. Maya heard someone say something about the chairman's wife, and suddenly the head of obstetrics was there, personally taking over her care. Mrs. Park, the doctor said, using Maya's married name. I'm Dr. Kim. I'm going to take care of you and your baby. Can you tell me where the pain is? Everywhere, Maya sobbed. My back, my hip, my stomach. It comes in waves. Is my baby okay? Please tell me my baby is okay. We're going to find out right now, Dr. Kim said calmly. We're taking you up to labor and delivery for monitoring. We'll do an ultrasound, check the baby's heartbeat, make sure everything is okay." They were wheeling her down a corridor when Maya heard shouting from the emergency entrance, a voice she knew better than her own. "Where is she? Where's my wife?" "Sir, you need to—" "I don't need to do anything except see my wife. Get out of my way, now!" The doors burst open, and Ji-hoon appeared, his normally immaculate appearance disheveled. His tie was askew, his jacket was missing, and his hair looked like he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes scanned the hallway frantically until they landed on Maya being wheeled on the gurney. The transformation in his face was immediate and devastating. The cold, controlled businessman vanished, replaced by raw fear and anguish. He was by her side in seconds, taking her hand, his other hand hovering over her belly. "Maya, baby, are you okay? Is the baby—" "I don't know," Maya cried, squeezing his hand so hard her knuckles went white. "Ji-hoon, I fell. He pushed me and I fell, and now the baby—" "Who pushed you?" Ji-hoon's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Who touched you?" "Sir," Dr. Kim interrupted gently, "we need to get her upstairs now. You can come with us, but we need to move." Ji-hoon nodded, never letting go of Maya's hand as they rushed toward the elevator. "I'm here," he told her, his voice shaking. "I'm right here. You're going to be okay. The baby is going to be okay. I promise." "You can't promise that," Maya whispered. "I can, and I do." Ji-hoon brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. "I'm not losing either of you. Not today. Not ever." In the labor and delivery unit, Maya was hooked up to monitors immediately. The sound of the baby's heartbeat filled the room, strong and steady, and Maya felt some of her terror ease. "Heartbeat is good," Dr. Kim announced, studying the monitors. "Strong and steady at 145. Let's do an ultrasound to check the placenta and amniotic fluid." Ji-hoon stood beside the bed, holding Maya's hand while Dr. Kim performed the ultrasound. His eyes were locked on the screen, watching their baby move and kick, very much alive. "Everything looks good," Dr. Kim said after what felt like an eternity. "The placenta is intact, fluid levels are normal, baby is active and healthy. You're having contractions, but they're irregular and not progressing, likely just from the stress and impact of the fall." "So the baby is okay?" Maya asked, afraid to believe it. "The baby is fine," Dr. Kim confirmed with a smile. "You're going to be sore for a few days, and we want to keep you for observation overnight. But both of you are going to be just fine." Maya burst into tears, relief flooding through her so intensely it was almost painful. Ji-hoon leaned down, pressing his forehead to hers, his own eyes wet. "See?" he said, his voice rough. "I promised. You're both okay." "I was so scared," Maya sobbed. I know, baby. But you're safe now. You're both safe. And whoever did this—" His voice hardened. "They're going to regret ever touching you." Dr. Kim cleared his throat. "Sir, with all due respect, your wife needs rest. Whatever you're planning can wait until she's discharged." Ji-hoon nodded, but his jaw was tight. He stayed with Maya while the nurses got her settled into a private room, never letting go of her hand, never moving more than a few feet away. Mr. Kang appeared in the doorway, looking grim. Ji-hoon stepped outside to speak with him, their conversation low and intense. Maya couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw Ji-hoon's face darken, saw his hands clench into fists, saw the cold fury that transformed his features into something terrifying. When he came back into the room, his expression softened immediately. "Get some rest," he told Maya, brushing hair back from her face. "I'm going to take care of everything." "Ji-hoon, what are you going to do?" "What I should have done the moment someone decided to hurt you." He kissed her forehead. "Don't worry about it. Just rest. I'll be back soon." "Promise?" "Always." He left the room, and through the window, Maya saw him surrounded by his men, all of them listening intently as he gave orders. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that Derek's life was about to change forever. Things are about to get intense. What do you think Ji-hoon should do to Derek? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because the next part is going to blow your mind. Derek was sweating. He'd been sitting in this sterile conference room at Seoul Grace Medical Center for 20 minutes, flanked by 2 security guards who hadn't said a word. Ashley had been separated from him the moment they arrived, taken to a different room, and he hadn't seen her since. The police had questioned him at the mall, taken his statement, reviewed the videos. They'd told him to wait, that someone would be in touch about pressing charges. But then these men in suits had arrived, flashing credentials that made the police officers go pale and step back. And now Derek was here, in a hospital conference room, with no idea what was happening. The door opened. Ji-hoon walked in, and Derek's stomach dropped. He knew that face. Everyone who worked at Hansong Enterprises knew that face. It was in the lobby, in the executive wing, in every company newsletter. Park Ji-hoon, the young chairman who'd taken over the company 3 years ago and turned it into one of the most powerful conglomerates in Korea. Derek's boss's 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 boss. "Mr. Chen," Ji-hoon said pleasantly, taking a seat across from Derek. His voice was calm, almost friendly, but there was something in his eyes that made Derek's blood run cold. "Thank you for waiting." "I don't understand what's happening," Derek said, his voice coming out higher than he intended. "Why am I here? I already talked to the police. This is all just a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," Ji-hoon repeated slowly. He pulled out a tablet and set it on the table, tapping the screen. A video began to play. Derek shoving Maya falling. Maya clutching her pregnant belly. This misunderstanding? Derek's mouth went dry. She was in my way. I didn't mean for her to fall. It was an accident. An accident that came after you spent 5 minutes verbally abusing her, insulting her weight, her appearance, mocking her pregnancy, suggesting she was a prostitute. Ji-hoon's voice remained calm, but his knuckles were white where his hands were clasped on the table. "We have audio, Mr. Chen. Every word. Look, we used to date, okay? It was just, ex-drama. Nothing serious. Nothing serious." Ji-hoon leaned forward. "You pushed my pregnant wife to the ground in a public mall. You could have killed my child. You call that nothing serious?" Derek's brain short-circuited. "Your wife? Maya is your wife?" "Maya is my wife," Ji-hoon confirmed. "The woman you called fat and pathetic and worthless is my wife. The woman you said no man would want is my wife. The baby you said would make her alone forever is my child. So yes, Mr. Chen, this is very serious." Derek felt like he was going to throw up. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't." "No, she was married to you. If I'd known, if you'd known, you wouldn't have touched her. Because she belongs to someone powerful." Ji-hoon's eyes flashed. "But it was fine to abuse her when you thought she was alone and defenseless? When you thought there was no one to protect her?" "That's not what I meant. Let me tell you what's going to happen, Mr. Chen." Ji-hoon pulled out another tablet. "This is your employment file. As of 30 minutes ago, you've been terminated from Hansong Enterprises for violation of the company's ethics policy. Your severance has been denied due to cause. Your company car has been repossessed. Your corporate credit cards have been canceled." Derek's face went white. "You can't do that. I have a contract. I have rights." "You had a contract with a morality clause that you violated by committing assault. You had rights until you put your hands on my wife." Ji-hoon swiped to another screen. "This is your apartment lease. The building is owned by one of our subsidiaries. Your lease has been terminated effective immediately for breach of conduct. You have 72 hours to vacate." "That's illegal. You can't just throw me out." Read your lease agreement, Section 14, Paragraph 3. Tenants engaging in criminal activity or behavior that damages the building's reputation can be evicted with 72 hours notice. The video of you assaulting a pregnant woman has been viewed 3 million times in the last hour. I'd say that damages our reputation." Derek couldn't breathe. "My car loan, my credit cards. Please, I need those. I have bills. Your car loan was through Hansong Financial. Defaulted due to employment termination. Your credit cards were issued through our banking division. Cancelled. Your gym membership, your country club membership, your professional association dues, all paid through company benefits. All revoked. Ji-hoon's voice was relentless. Every connection you had to my families. Businesses is gone, Mr. Chen. You're going to learn what it feels like to have nothing. This is insane. You're destroying my life over an accident. An accident would be bumping into someone. You deliberately pushed a pregnant woman to the ground after verbally abusing her. That's assault. And yes, I'm destroying your life. Because you tried to destroy hers. The difference is she didn't deserve it. You do. Mr. Kang entered the room, handing Ji-hoon a folder. Ji-hoon opened it, scanning the contents with a grim smile. It gets better. It seems your new girlfriend, Ashley Kim, is quite the social media influencer. She's already posted a statement distancing herself from you. According to her Instagram story, which currently has 400,000 views, you're an abusive monster and she's a victim who was manipulated by your lies. She's also accepting donations to help her recover from this traumatic experience. Derek's world was crumbling. Ashley wouldn't... We're together. She loves me. She loved your money and your connections, both of which you no longer have. Ji-hoon closed the folder. The police are filing assault charges. Given the video evidence and the number of witnesses, you're looking at 6 months minimum. Probably more, since the victim was pregnant. You'll have a criminal record, which will make finding employment difficult. No respectable company will hire you. Please, Derek whispered, all his bravado gone. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt her. I'll apologize. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't do this. You want to apologize? Ji-hoon's voice was ice. You want me to give you the opportunity to face the woman you abused, the woman you abandoned while she was pregnant, the woman you called worthless and fat and pathetic, and apologize? You think that fixes anything? I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I was stupid and cruel, and I'm sorry. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there were consequences. Ji-hoon stood up. My wife is upstairs, recovering from the trauma you inflicted. She was crying and scared and in pain because of you. My child, who isn't even born yet, could have died because of you. And you think an apology covers that? What do you want from me? Derek was crying now, desperate. I want you to understand something. Ji-hoon leaned down, his hands on the table, his face inches from Derek's. Maya is mine to protect. My child is mine to protect. And I will burn down the world to keep them safe. You're lucky you're not dead right now. You're lucky that my wife is kind and gentle and would be horrified if I did what I really want to do to you. Which is what? Derek asked, terrified. Use your imagination. Ji-hoon straightened. You're going to jail, Mr. Chen, and when you get out, you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that the woman you threw away is happy and loved and thriving, while you're alone and broken and struggling. That's your punishment, living with the knowledge that you had something precious and you destroyed it because you were too stupid to see its value. Ji-hoon walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. Han Seong Enterprises has partnerships with most major companies in Seoul. I've already made some calls. You're blacklisted, Mr. Chen. No one in this city will hire you. You want to work? You'll have to leave Korea. And even then, good luck explaining the gap in your resume. He left, leaving Derek alone with the security guards and the wreckage of his life. Maya woke up to find Ji-hoon sitting in the chair beside her hospital bed, holding her hand. His eyes were closed, his head tilted back against the wall, exhaustion written in every line of his face. Ji-hoon, she said softly. His eyes snapped open immediately, and he was leaning over her in an instant. Hey, how are you feeling? Do you need anything? Water? The doctor? Should I call the nurse? I'm okay, Maya said, though her body ached and her hip was throbbing. Just sore. How long was I asleep? 3 hours. The doctor said rest was the best thing for you and the baby. Ji-hoon brushed hair back from her face, his touch gentle. The baby is fine, by the way. Strong heartbeat, moving normally. Dr. Kim checked on you twice while you were sleeping. Relief washed over Maya again. And Derek. Ji-hoon's expression darkened. Taken care of. What did you do? What needed to be done? Ji-hoon sat on the edge of her bed, careful not to jostle her. He's been fired, evicted, and arrested. Every connection he had to anything my family owns is gone. He's blacklisted from every major company in Seoul. His girlfriend left him and is currently profiting off his downfall on social media. And he's facing assault charges with overwhelming video evidence. Maya should have felt vindicated. She should have felt satisfied. Instead, she just felt tired. Is that enough? It's not nearly enough, Ji-hoon said honestly. But it's what I can legally do without upsetting you. If you weren't so kind-hearted, I'd do much worse. I don't want you to do worse, Maya said firmly. I don't want you to become someone you're not because of him. He's not worth it. You're worth it, Ji-hoon corrected. You're worth everything. Maya took his hand, squeezing it. I know you want to protect me. I know you want to fix this. But Ji-hoon, what I need right now isn't revenge. It's you. Just you, here with me. Something in Ji-hoon's face cracked. He leaned down, pressing his forehead to hers, and when he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. I was so scared. When Mr. Kang called, when he said you'd been hurt, I thought... He couldn't finish the sentence. We're okay, Maya whispered. The baby is okay. I'm okay. I can't lose you, Ji-hoon said. Either of you. Maya, you and this baby, you're everything to me. When I thought something might have happened, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could see was you lying on that floor, and I wanted to kill him. I still want to kill him. But you won't, Maya said. Because you're better than that. Because you're the man who showed up at a restaurant every night just to make sure I ate. The man who read parenting books and bought heating pads and held me while I cried over dog commercials. That's who you are, Ji-hoon. Not someone who destroys people out of anger. I destroyed Derek pretty thoroughly. You held him accountable for his actions. There's a difference. Maya cupped his face with both hands. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing us every single day. But now I need you to let this go. Derek isn't worth one more second of your time or energy. Ji-hoon nodded slowly, then kissed her, soft and sweet, and full of promises. Okay, I'll let it go. For you. For us, Maya corrected. For us. They stayed like that for a long moment, wrapped up in each other, while the monitors beeped steadily and their baby kicked between them, a reminder of everything they had to fight for. The next morning, Dr. Kim discharged Maya with strict instructions to rest and take it easy. Ji-hoon had already arranged everything. A wheelchair to take her to the car, even though she insisted she could walk. Mr. Kang and his team formed a protective escort through the hospital, and when they stepped outside, there was a fleet of black cars waiting. You're being ridiculous, Maya said, but she was smiling. I'm being careful, Ji-hoon corrected. There's a difference. At home, Ji-hoon carried Maya upstairs despite her protests, settling her into their bed with about a dozen pillows for support. His grandmother arrived within the hour, bringing soup and fussing over Maya in rapid Korean. Mrs. Park came too, crying and hugging Maya carefully, blessing the baby and praising the spirits for keeping them safe. Over the next few days, Maya healed. The bruises faded, the aches eased, and the baby continued to grow strong and healthy. Ji-hoon barely left her side, working from their bedroom, constantly checking on her, bringing her food and drinks and anything she might possibly need. You're hovering, Maya told him on the third day. I'm attentive, Ji-hoon replied, adjusting her pillows for the 10th time. You're driving me crazy. Would you prefer I leave you alone? No, Maya admitted, pulling him down to sit beside her. Never. I just want you to breathe. We're okay, Ji-hoon. I promise. He exhaled slowly, some of the tension finally leaving his shoulders. I know. I just keep seeing you on that floor. I keep thinking about what could have happened. But it didn't, Maya said firmly. We're here. We're safe. And in a few weeks, we're going to have a baby. That's what we need to focus on now. Not what happened, but what's coming. Ji-hoon placed his hand on her belly, feeling their daughter kick against his palm. A baby, he said, wonder in his voice. Our baby, Maya agreed. She's going to have your eyes, I think, and hopefully your temperament, because Lord knows she doesn't need my emotional tendencies. She's going to be perfect, Ji-hoon said, just like her mother. 3 weeks later, Maya went into labor at 2 a.m. Ji-hoon was awake instantly, already dressed and calling for the car before Maya had finished telling him it was time. The drive to the hospital was a blur of contractions and Ji-hoon holding her hand, telling her to breathe, looking more terrified than she'd ever seen him. Labor lasted 14 hours. Ji-hoon never left her side, not even when she yelled at him, not even when she cried, not even when she squeezed his hand so hard she thought she might break his fingers. He was there through every contraction, every push, every moment of pain and fear and exhaustion. And then, finally, their daughter was born. The doctor placed the baby on Maya's chest, tiny and perfect, and screaming at the top of her lungs. Maya burst into tears, overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of love that flooded through her. This was her daughter, her baby, the child she'd been so afraid to have alone, the child Derek had rejected, the child Ji-hoon had chosen to love before she was even born. She's beautiful, Ji-hoon whispered, tears streaming down his own face as he looked at his daughter. Maya, she's perfect. She is, Maya agreed, counting tiny fingers and toes, marveling at the shock of dark hair on her head. She really is. Ji-hoon cut the umbilical cord with shaking hands, and then the nurses were cleaning the baby and doing their checks. 8 pounds, 6 ounces, 20 inches long. Perfectly healthy. A fighter, just like her mother. When they finally placed the baby back in Maya's arms, now clean and swaddled in a soft blanket, Ji-hoon sat beside them on the bed, his arm around Maya, his eyes never leaving his daughter's face. What should we name her? Maya asked. They discussed names but never decided on one, always saying they'd know when they met her. And now, looking at her perfect little face, Maya did know. Hope, she said. I want to name her Hope. Ji-hoon looked at her, understanding dawning in his eyes. Because she gave you hope when you thought you had none. Because she gave us both hope, Maya corrected. Hope for a future we didn't know we could have. Hope for a family. Hope for happiness. Hope, Ji-hoon repeated, trying it out. Park Hope, I love it. Outside the hospital room, Mr. Kang and his entire security team were waiting, along with Ji-hoon's grandmother, Mrs. Park, and what seemed like half of Seoul. When the nurses finally allowed visitors, the room filled with love and laughter and celebrations. Ji-hoon's grandmother held Hope with tears streaming down her weathered face, speaking to her in Korean, welcoming her to the family. Mrs. Park declared that the baby was perfect and would grow up to be strong and beautiful. Mr. Kang, the stern head of security who Maya had never seen smile, grinned like a proud uncle and proclaimed that Hope would have the best protection detail in all of Korea. That night, after everyone had left and the hospital had quieted down, Maya lay in her bed with Hope sleeping in a bassinet beside her and Ji-hoon dozing in the chair, his hand still holding hers. She thought about everything that had led to this moment. The heartbreak and the healing, the fear and the love, Derek's cruelty and Ji-hoon's kindness. She thought about that day in the restaurant when she'd been crying over soup, broken and scared and alone. And she thought about the man who had sat down across from her and stayed. Derek had been right about one thing. Maya had needed to change, but not her body or her worth or her value as a person. She'd needed to change her belief about what she deserved. She'd needed to learn that she was worthy of love, of respect, of someone who would show up every single day and choose her. And she'd found it. Not in the man who had promised forever and left, but in the man who had promised nothing and given her everything. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Against her better judgment, she checked it. It was a news article someone had sent her. Former Hanseong executive sentenced to 8 months for assault. There was Derek's mugshot, his face pale and defeated. Maya deleted the notification without reading the article. Derek belonged to her past, and she was too busy building her future to care about his downfall. She looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully. She looked at her husband, exhausted but content. She looked at the life she'd built from the ashes of her heartbreak. And Maya smiled. 6 months later, Maya's bakery had expanded to 5 locations across Seoul. She'd launched a line of adaptive recipe books for new mothers who wanted to bake with their babies. She'd started a foundation that provided support and resources for single pregnant women. And she'd never been happier. Hope was thriving. A happy baby with Ji-hoon's dark eyes and Maya's smile. She was spoiled rotten by her father, who somehow managed to run a business empire while never missing a feeding or a diaper change. She was doted on by her great-grandmother, who insisted on teaching her Korean from birth. And she was protected by an entire security team who had collectively decided that this baby was worth dying for. One evening, Maya was at the flagship bakery, holding hope while instructing her staff on a new recipe. Ji-hoon appeared in the doorway, still in his suit from work, and Hope immediately squealed and reached for him. "There's my girl," Ji-hoon said, taking her from Maya and kissing her chubby cheeks while she giggled. "Were you good for Mama today?" "She was perfect," Maya said, watching her husband with their daughter. "Just like always." Ji-hoon looked at Maya, over Hope's head, and the love in his eyes made her breath catch even now, a year after they'd met. "I have something to tell you," he said. "Good something or bad something?" "Good something. Great something, actually." He shifted Hope to one arm and pulled out his phone with the other. "Remember that interview I did last month for Business Korea magazine? The one where you talked about family values and work-life balance? That's the one. It came out today." He showed her the article. The headline read, "Park Ji-hoon, the family man behind Korea's most powerful empire." And there, taking up half the page, was a photo of Ji-hoon holding Hope, both of them laughing at something off-camera. But it was the quote that made Maya's eyes fill with tears. "People ask me what my greatest achievement is," Ji-hoon had said. "They expect me to talk about business deals or company growth, but my greatest achievement is simple. I showed up. I showed up for a woman who'd been told she was worthless, and I stayed until she believed she was priceless. I showed up for a child who wasn't biologically mine, and I loved her until she became mine in every way that mattered. Success isn't measured in money or power. It's measured in the people who smile when you come home." Maya wiped her eyes. "Ji-hoon, too cheesy?" he asked, grinning. "Perfect," Maya said, wrapping her arms around both of them. "You're perfect." "No," Ji-hoon said, kissing her forehead, then Hope's. "We're perfect. All 3 of us. Together." And they were. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction or downfall. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, being happy, building a life so full of love and joy and hope that the people who tried to break you become nothing more than a footnote in your story. Derek had thought he was upgrading when he left Maya, but Maya was the one who truly upgraded. From a man who made her feel worthless to a man who made her feel priceless. From fear to hope. From broken to whole. She'd leveled up in every possible way, and she'd never been happier. So what did you think of Maya's journey? Drop a comment and let us know. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories of revenge, redemption, and true love. Because remember, the best revenge is always living your best life. Until next time.